For a long time, the burn team of Limbus company has been starving for new content. However, the newest Walpurgisnacht 5 event has brought with itself a brand new ego skill for the Forgotten team that breathes a lot of life into it. The ego skill in question is, of course, Magic Bullet Outis, and in today's video I want to take a look at it and tell you about a couple of ways you can use it, and show you just how strong this ego can be. Of course, Outis already has a Magic Bullet identity, so you can expect a lot of synergy with that. And the ego skill has some insane variety, as it has 7 whole phases that all have their unique effects, meaning there's a lot to talk about. But before we start, you know I have to tell you that most of my viewers are not subscribed, and if you find yourself coming back to my videos, you should consider subscribing to never miss my new uploads. It helps me out a lot and takes just 1 second. Without further ado, let's get back to Magic Bullet. Starting with the skill itself, Magic Bullet is a high-level Pierce Sprite ego skill with 1 coin, a base power of 22 and coin power of 14. In the base stats, the attack weight of this ego skill is listed as 1, but that stat varies greatly depending on which bullet you're firing. Every iteration of Magic Bullet deals 3% more damage for every 3 burn on the target, up to a maximum of 30%. And before attack, if Outis has 0 stacks of Magic Bullet, she gets 1. Also after attack, all versions of the skill give Outis Magic Bullet equal to the highest resonance. She gets a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 4 in one use of this ego. Additionally, if the main target of the skill is defeated, all enemies with burn are inflicted with 4 Dark Flame. On hit, Outis inflicts burn equal to Magic Bullet on herself, as well as the same amount of Dark Flame. However, the Dark Flame infliction is limited to once per turn for each enemy unit, which will come up a bit later. Of course, you should have noticed by now that I skipped a sizable chunk of this ego's description. That is because I've decided to save this part of the ego for last, as Magic Bullet actually has 7 different forms. The game chooses which bullet to fire based on Outis' Magic Bullet value before the attack, so the after-attack resonance bullets aren't part of the calculation. And, well, let's go through every bullet that Outis can fire. The first Magic Bullet is the weakest, as it only hits 1 enemy. However, it deals 20% more damage and raises the enemy's stagger threshold by damage dealt, up to 30, so it's still not a bad skill. The second Magic Bullet is very unique, as it deals 10% bonus damage, but only damages up to 4 bonus targets around the chosen enemy, while the main target of the skill remains unharmed. On hit, the second Magic Bullet also inflicts 3 paralyze. The third Magic Bullet is the first normal multi-target variant of the skill, as it deals 20% bonus damage, much like the first bullet, but hits 3 enemies instead of 1, and on hit inflicts 2 attack power down and 10 burn. The fourth Magic Bullet is effectively a stronger version of the third bullet, as it also acts as a multi-target skill, hitting a total of 4 enemies, dealing 30% bonus damage and inflicting 3 fragility next turn, all while raising the enemy's stagger thresholds just like the first bullet does. The fifth Magic Bullet is the culmination of the simple multi-target skill archetype of Magic Bullet, as it's once again a stronger version of the previous variant. This bullet deals 30% bonus damage, hits 5 enemies, and inflicts all of the enemies hit with 10 burn, as well as 4 offense and defense level down next turn. The sixth Magic Bullet does something very interesting, as it hits 7 enemies and raises their stagger threshold by damage dealt. However, this bullet drastically lowers the power of the skill, as the Awakening variant of Magic Bullet loses 16 base power and 8 coin power, with the Corrosion variant losing even more than that. In return, the coin of the skill is reused once for every 7 burn on the main target, up to 2 times per turn. And the seventh and final Magic Bullet is a return to the beginning, so to speak, as it's another version of Magic Bullet that only hits 1 enemy. However, this one is much more epic, as Outis gets a 200% damage buff for the attack, as well as bonus damage for every percent of missing HP on the target. While the attack is going on, the pierce resistances of both Outis and her target are set to fatal if they aren't already. This results in a ton of bonus damage, but that damage comes at a great price. Outis is killed after the attack. Yeah, that's a lot of variety, but before I give my opinions on it, let's take a look at the corrosion variant of the skill and its passive. Corrosion Magic Bullet targets randomly unless overclocked, and has a minus coin instead of a plus coin. It reaches a higher max power than the Awakening version and has more offense level as well, but it costs 5 more SP, which is actually kind of a good thing considering the negative coin. However, the slight increase in power isn't the only thing that differentiates the Corrosion variant from the Awakening, as its after attack and on hit effects have been buffed as well. Magic Bullet now inflicts 7 stacks of Dark Flame on all enemies with burn on kill instead of 4. And it also inflicts burn count equal to half of Outis' Magic Bullet on hit. This is a highly potent combination of effects, as the ability to mass inflict burn count while also mass inflicting Dark Flame leads to a ton of burn damage coming through in the following turns. And when combined with a team of identities that can pile on those burn stacks, groups of enemies will fall very quickly in the eye of the wildfire, no matter how tough their physical resistances may be. As for Magic Bullet's passive, it's really strong as well. Usually, it makes Outis inflict burn on hit equal to 1/3 of her Magic Bullet stack. But her Magic Bullet identity specifically can inflict burn equal to her stack of the effect up to 3 times per turn. Against enemies with 30 or more burn, the effect of the passive changes and starts inflicting Dark Flame on hit instead, making it very easy to stack up Dark Flame on bosses up to its cap. Now, Magic Bullet is extremely strong in the right hands, and in the wrong ones, it still can perform well, or kill Outis, depending on how bad you are at reading. The main thing you need to do when using this ego is plan out your resonance chains and timing of the ego skill for maximum value from its effects, as well as get acquainted with all the bullets and make the most out of them if you want the skill to deal damage. In my eyes, the most impactful part of the skill has no relation to the different magic bullets that it can fire, as I believe that the main hype thing that this ego does is allow Outis to bypass her 4 magic bullet soft cap, which makes using her max power skill 3 very easy. The same goes for the second skill, which also uses the magic bullet stacks on Outis to inflict Dark Flame. These two skills in Outis' kit, as well as the ego's powerful passive, make using even one magic bullet in an encounter incredibly impactful. However, even though I think that the power of the skill lies in its magic bullet gain, some of the actual bullets it can fire are incredibly powerful too. So let's quickly go over what each of these bullets is good at and which ones you should be aiming to use for a lot of damage. The first bullet is what you will be using if you want 5 stacks of Magic Bullet at the start of an encounter in Mirror Dungeons. Alternatively, you can use it to get back up to 5 after resetting your ammo with a max power Magic Bullet fire. When using this variant, all you really want to do is kill an enemy to proc the second after attack effect, so you can inflict a bunch of enemies with Dark Flame without even hitting them. Outside of that, this version is definitely weak, as you can't leverage the power of the on-hit effects without a sizable stack of Magic Bullet on Outis. Bullets 2 to 5 all function in very similar ways. They all hit multiple enemies and inflict them with a debuff. The 5th bullet is the only one that stands out in terms of debuffs, as it inflicts both offensive and defensive debuffs, which weakens enemies in more ways than one. Also, both the 3rd and 5th bullet inflict 10 burn on all enemies hit, which is a great effect for 2 reasons. If Outis goes before her team, the 10 burn allows her allies to hit their conditionals when clashing against any enemy hit by Magic Bullet, effectively making these versions of this ego strong ways to support the rest of the burn team. But also, this rapid burn infliction stacks on top of the on-hit effect of Magic Bullet, which means that the enemies are inflicted with an actually respectable amount of burn, while also having to endure multiple stacks of Dark Flame being spread out between the enemy team. This results in a ton of effective damage being done with these skills through Dark Flame, and unlike Magic Bullet Outis, the identity, Magic Bullet Outis the Ego inflicts Dark Flame on the current turn instead of the next turn, meaning that the damage from the effect comes through quickly and allows you to clear waves with haste. As for the 6th Magic Bullet, this one's your actual high damage option. As long as you can hit both rerolls, the damage of the 6th bullet far outshines any other variant, even with how much it debuffs the power of the skill. And while it's true that this variant of Magic Bullet also can inflict a ton of burn through rerolling, it's not as important here, because most enemies that don't hard resist Pierce and Pride will straight up get killed by the skill before Dark Flame even has a chance to activate. This makes the 6th bullet by far the strongest option out of all the Magic Bullet variants, but it does need some setup, as at least one target on the enemy team needs to have a bit of burn inflicted on them for the rerolls to hit. As for the 7th bullet, this one's a fun skill, but not exactly one you should be using. It can serve as a finisher in a few rare scenarios, and actually deals a lot of damage while ignoring the enemy's pierce resistance. The reason why it's only good as a finisher is simple: Outis dies after using the skill. Also, it gains damage against low HP targets, so it's better to wait for maximum damage anyways. Of course, a question comes up in regards to the last bullet. It's a single target nuke in Burn. Does Burn need that kind of skill, if it has historically been a team that excels at fighting multiple enemies at once? And I would say that Magic Bullet making the stacking of Dark Flame much easier makes Burn a strong archetype against bosses as well. Now, Dark Flame has been designed as a way to bypass Burn's damage cap a while ago, but Magic Bullet Outis, the identity, has had problems with stacking her unique effect with only one slot. And even if you double slot her, getting to a truly high value of Dark Flame still takes time, and it's all inflicted on the following turn, meaning all of its damage was effectively pushed back one turn, which made Burn quite a slow boss killing archetype, even though it potentially can throw out 400 damage bombs at the end of each of its turns. The injection of magic bullets that the Ego provides allows Outis to inflict a lot more Dark Flame with her skills early into an encounter, and combining that with the Ego's passive, which allows Outis to inflict a ton of burn on one enemy, as well as the additional Dark Flame, once the stack of burn on the enemy is high enough, allows Magic Bullet Outis to really work as a single target burn damage amplifier well enough to the point where burn could potentially be used on bosses now to a degree of success. Add a finishing blow like the 7th bullet into the mix, and it really starts to look like this Ego was made to allow the burn team to become even more versatile, as a lot of its issues in terms of boss encounters have been effectively solved with the release of this Ego. But really, the actual 7th bullet for this Ego is just the 3rd skill of MB Outis, which gains a ton of power when Outis is at 7 stacks of Magic Bullet. For the uninitiated, Magic Bullet Fire gains more power depending on Magic Bullet on Outis, with it reaching up to 23 power when Outis is at 4 to 6 bullets, and a whopping 40 power when she's at 7. This insane power then hits 7 enemies, and inflicts them all with 7 Dark Flame, which usually ends up instantly ending whatever wave was present when she used that skill. The skill also resets the ammo of Outis back to 0, so you can use Magic Bullet, the Ego, without worrying about Outis offing herself continuously. And with that, my little overview of Magic Bullet Outis has come to a conclusion. The skill provides some tremendous value for Outis, and allows the burn team to become even faster at clearing human encounters. At the same time, its passive allows Outis to become a powerful burn inflictor against bosses. With the existence of this Ego, Dark Flame is now much easier to stack and inflict in large amounts, meaning burn can be used with more success against bosses or any type of encounter for that matter. I wish I could go a bit more in depth with the power of the skill, but I hope what I have already said today has convinced you that the skill is very powerful. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like to let me know, and if you are a burn enjoyer that wants to elaborate on the power of this Ego, I will gladly pin the best essay glazing this Ego in the comment section below. This was Ultranum, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye!